Here is God, no monarch he throned in easy state to reign. Here is God, whose arms of love, aching, spent, the world sustain. Amen. Save yourself and us. It's a cry appealing to self-interest and power. You don't have to go far to find this cry in our world today. It's everywhere. Self-interest and power in nearly every headline in the newspaper, in only a few minutes of radio or television news. We sense that these things are out there churning and swirling in and among the leaders and people of the world. Save yourself and us. Along the way, Jesus encounters these questions of self-interest and power, and particularly as he comes toward the crucifixion. He sees Pilate, then Herod, then Pilate again, and there are questions about what his identity is. He's turned over as someone perverting the nation, forbidding people to pay taxes to the emperor, and saying that he is the Messiah. And when Pilate asks, "Are you the King of the Jews?" he says, "You say so." In the crucifixion scene we hear today, the leaders are scoffing at Jesus, saying, if he is the chosen one, let him save others and save himself. The soldiers mock him. There is an ironic inscription hanging over his head. This is the King of the Jews. And one of the criminals hanged there keeps deriding him and asking, "Are you not the Messiah? Save yourself and us." We might already anticipate Jesus' response to these cries for self-interest and power if we remember the time of his temptation in the wilderness. Jesus, hungry and exhausted, encounters the devil, who tries to get Jesus to use his power in ways that would sustain his life and his self-interest. The devil says to him, "If you are the Son of God, command this stone to become a loaf of bread." And Jesus says, "One does not live by bread alone." The devil takes him and shows him in one moment all the kingdoms of the world and offers him glory and authority over all of them if he will only worship the devil. And Jesus responds, "Worship the Lord your God and serve only God." Then at the temple, at the pinnacle of the temple, the devil offers, "Throw yourself down and God will send angels to protect you and bear you up." And Jesus says, "Do not put your Lord God to the test." In the temptation, Jesus comes face to face with the devil and with the possibility of using his power, and he refuses to surrender to self-interest. Now, in the crucifixion, Jesus is face to face with the worst that evil can do in this world. And voices all around are scoffing and mocking and deriding him. Jesus refuses to answer their scorn. He does not react to the voices clamoring for self-interest and power. His only response is forgiveness. He listens to the voice of the condemned, marginalized criminal hanging beside him, the person no one might notice, the one who seems, though, to have particular insight, the one who is able to envision the kingdom of Jesus, and who asks, Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom. Jesus' response is mercy, blessing, and promise. The affirmation that his kingdom is already present and breaking in even in the most grim reality. Jesus says, today you will be with me in paradise. Even in this horrific moment, righteousness, justice, and wholeness are being restored. How do we stand in this scene, living in a world still overshadowed by self-interest and power? How do we respond to the demand for domination and exploitation? How do we hear these words in a time marked by selfishness, greed, and profound and extreme divisions among people? What does Jesus' kingdom mean for us when the kingdoms of this world are shaken, when voices all around are scoffing and mocking, and when truth seems elusive? Which voices will we choose to listen to? The voice of the Lord in Jeremiah, raising up shepherds who gather the scattered flock so that they shall not fear any longer or be dismayed, and none will be missing. The voice of the Lord who will establish justice and righteousness. The voice of the psalmist who assures us and reassures us that even in uncertainty, chaos, and tumult, God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. The voice of Paul writing to the Colossians, who affirms that God has rescued us from the power of darkness and transferred us into the kingdom of his beloved Son, and that through Christ, God is reconciling all things. The voice of the powerless, like the thief on the cross, the people around us struggling to live, the people striving to do the right thing, the people easily overlooked or discounted, the people who have insight into the kingdom of Jesus, which we might miss. The voice of God within us, calling us to a path of humility and self-giving love, urging us to confront the crises in our nation and in the world, compelling us to seek the truth, opening our eyes to focus on the humble and brokenhearted rather than on the powerful and the contemptuous. We listen to these voices until we can resist self-interest and power, until we no longer hear ourselves shouting, "Save yourself and us," but instead, with humility and faith, find ourselves seeking mercy and hope at the foot of the cross, praying, "Your kingdom come, your will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom."